पंचकोशाख्ये अन्नमय प्राणमय मनोमय विज्ञानमय आनंदमयश्चेति अन्नमयः अन्नरसेनैव भूत्वा अन्नरसेनैव वृद्धिं प्राप्य अन्नरूपपृथिव्यां यद्विलीयते तदन्नमयकोशः स्थूलशरीरम्। So last time we have seen the three states and how the reality of oneself is free from the three states: the waking, dream, deep sleep. So we relate the three states to the three bodies. The waking state is mostly predominantly at the level of the Sthula Bhagam, the gross body. The dream is always at the level of the subtle body where mind is more important. So it is Sukshma Shariram Visa. And the sleep is at the level of the causal body, which is generally called as ignorant state. Hence it is related to the causal body. So this being related to the body, the Atma is present. If you identify with any one of them, you get the status of waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. But what are you? I am really free from all of them. I am available with all of them, but that is not my reality. If that is my reality, the principle is that if you are waker, you cannot be the dreamer. Like even I cannot be you, because my reality of this body is that this body cannot be that body. Similarly, if the Atma were to be the waker, and the waker alone, that Atma cannot be dreamer. So dreamer will be different, waker will be different, the sleeper will be different. There will be three different entities. Though it appears like that, in reality there is no three, there is a common factor in all of them, that is called the I. I alone am the waker, I alone am the dreamer, I alone am the sleeper, but I am free from all of them. That is my reality. Without me they are not there. I am without them. This is what is called I am the one who is invariable. They all become variables. Where sleep is there, I am there. Dream is there, I am there. Waker is there, I am there. But I shake off all of them one by one. Why? Because that is not my reality. Hence, in reality, what am I? Who am I? I am free from all of them. That status of being free is what is said initially, Sakshi. Sakshi means who is only the witnessing principle, who just sees as it is going on. That is why ordinarily when we don't have this discrimination, this capacity to do the discrimination separate, we identify and say, I am the waker, I am the sleeper, I am the dreamer. That becomes a reality to me. But not that it changes, everything goes on, but after this knowledge, what is the difference? Though they are all there, they are not my absolute reality. It is not my intrinsic nature. So in another way, we have to put, they depend on me, but I don't depend on them. So that is what is called this thing. Otherwise, their status becomes our status. So we are free from that. That itself is said by Avastatraya Sakshi. Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira Vyatiriktaha. That Vyatirikta, that distinction itself is said here by the term Sakshi. What is the meaning of distinction? Distinction means you are free from their conditions, their dharma, their status doesn't belong to you. All the things you are free. From what standpoint? From the standpoint of your absolute reality. If that is absolute, all these things becomes what? That's it. It has got a relative reality. It has a reality, but it is not an absolute reality. What do you mean by relative reality? They have a dependence on something to be what they are. And what they depend is you, the reality. For the dreamer to be dreamer, you must be there. The waker to be waker, you must be there. For the sleeper to be sleeper, you must be there. But you don't depend to exist as you. You can be free from all the three still exist. That's why in the sleep, everything goes, still you are existing. So what is your real existence? The existence is free from all of them. That understanding is what is called moksha. Not that they should go away. In spite of all of them, I am free from their status. I give existence to all of them. I give reality to everything. But then they cannot infringe upon my reality. I am free from all of them. So that means if waking state problems are there, how do you particularly, why do you want to do that? In the waking state problems doesn't belong to me. The dream state problem plus or minus whatever is there doesn't belong to me. Sleep whatever is there doesn't belong to me. Thus I am free from all of them. Hence here what we must know is I am not to become free. How do they come to all of us is because of our identification, which we call as tadatmya. We become one with it and say that belongs to me, I am that itself. So after this knowledge what? They are not changing. Waking state is still there. Dream may happen. Sleep is daily there. But all of them is there, but Atma is free. So Upanishad says this Atma is, in spite of sleeping, there is no sleep for Atma. That's why Atma doesn't undergo sleep. So Atma has got no problem of with sleep or without sleep. Both are not there for Atma. Then who is the one who is having sleep? We saw the sleep is the nature of that which is called the mind. It is the mind and intellect that has to sleep. It is not the body which has to, but the Atma is not sleeping. That's why rest is for whom? At present, because we are the body, we say, I must rest. I have to have rest. So the resting at present is for me. I have to take rest. Everything is because I equate myself with the body, mind, everything. So their rest becomes my rest. But if you understand the rest is not for you, the rest is only for the body or the mind or anything, or even the buddhi, intellect, they have to rest. That is why after resting they become refreshed. Next day morning. When their refreshment is there, you think I am refreshed. But the refreshment, because you think you are the body, all refreshing nature, everything belongs to you. But in reality, that is not your nature. You are free from all of them. These are all things which releases you from whatever we think. They are all there, but I am free from all of them. So it has to be understood only. There is nothing to happen. Because of this understanding, the condition of the body need not change. Nothing need change. Let everything be there as they are. But still I am free. I am free. If the disease is there, still I am free from disease. That doesn't mean you need not treat the body. If there are problems in the mind, okay, the problem, in spite of problem, you are free from that. But you should know, you need not say that, then I need not treat the mind. Treat the mind. Let anything be done. But that is not for you. That's why I gave you the example of the car and you. You are in the car may have problem. The problem of car is not your problem. You may repair the car, but even when the car has got trouble, the trouble doesn't belong to you, means the body doesn't have any problem. Though the body is in the car. Like that, Atma is very much there in the body, but the body's problem doesn't touch the Atma. It is ever free. So that is what is said here completely. So the next item which we left, the second item by order should have been Pancha Kosha. Now that is taken for discussion here. That is the question that is asked. Pancha Koshaha Ke. What are the 5 kosha? Here is a sheath or 5 covers. Sheath means a cover. It's a covering. Covering like a covering. It is not a covering or anything, but it covers the Atma, the reality. Hence they use this terminology called sheath or kosha. The kosha is like a kavacha. Anything that covers is called a kosha, one of the particular thing tell. But generally kosha, grammar and other things are also, or in the dictionaries are also called kosha. But that is not the meaning here. Here kosha is used in the sense of covering, the covering, that which covers. That covering thing is called sheath or the particular kosha. What are they? The same body 3 is looked upon in the form of 5. They are not anything. The 3 bodies themselves from another angle are made into 5. What it is, we will see. First one is called Annamaya. Here wherever in the all of them, the Maya, the first 4, the Maya, the word, is a prefix we add. Suffix we add, which is called Pratyaya. In Sanskrit it is called as Pratyaya. What is this Pratyaya standing for? Modifications. Vikara. Maya stands for Vikara. So Annamaya stands for what? Modification of food. Pranamaya. So Prana Vikara or modification of Prana. Manomaya. Mano Vikara. Modifications of the mind. Vijnanamaya. Modifications of the intellect. Anandamaya. Modifications of that Karana Shariram. So thus the 5 levels where there are modifications, but in the Anandamaya only, the Maya there doesn't stand for Vikaram, it is for concentration, preponderance. Only there the meaning is different. The Maya stands for not Vikara modifications, but it is called as preponderance. We go further, we will see what it is and we can see that. So thus there are 5 things. So how did it become 3 become 5? The Sukshma Sharira, which is 1, which is made into 3. So the 2 extra, that is why 3 has become 5. What are the 3? Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. This Karana Sharira, Sthula Sharira left as it is. But then the Sukshma Sharira, 2 are added or is made into 1 is made into 2. And the 2 added itself is called made it as 5. So what is this particular Pancha Kosha? The 3 bodies are looked up from a different standpoint are called as particularly this itself. Now we will see one by one what are they. So that is taken for description later. So next question is asked, what is Annamaya Kosham? Annamayaha Kaha? So what do you mean by Annamaya Kosham? So he says now, Anna Rasena Eva Bhutva. So this Thula Shariram, this gross body is a product of what? It is a product of Anna Rasam. Annam means food. Rasam means essence. It is born of the essence of food. What is the essence of food? The parents' essence of food, what they have eaten from childhood onwards, it only becomes at a given time when there is adulthood comes, they have become the sperm or the ovaries, ovules, what you call. How did they come in the body? That is nothing but an final essence of the vitality is from the body which has come. From there only it has come. So it is a essence. Upanishad says the whole particular thing is the essence of the parents. Sarva angebhyaha rasaha, it says there. And that is the reason why genetically you all see particularly, that's why that sperm itself, it has got the thing to produce chip of the old block it comes. So where is all these things available? It is there in that particular bijam itself. That's why every tree has got potentially all the thing in that particular bijam, everything is there. So when you put the bijam from there, what comes? Same thing comes. You see in all particular thing it is there. Even in animals it is the same. Everywhere it is the same. So they are all predominantly there. But then how does it happen? It is the food modified only. So hence anna rasena eva bhutva. That is anna rasam. First modification. You eat food, it finally becomes the seed. The human seed available in male and female together. That is what anna raseneva bhutva. Anna raseneva bruddhim prapya. Having come into thing, the growth is because of what? Food eaten. That means what is this actually? This is only nothing but packet of food. Food modified is this gross part of the body. Is it or not? That's why what is food? That's why the child, when they conceive, how does the child grow? You all know. That's why the mother has to take food, because of that only the child keeps on growing. It doesn't take independently its own food. The mother eating becomes the necessity for the child to grow. That's why when they are pregnant, they have to eat more. Why? Because they want one self, another one also, double. Their food directly has got an effect on the child. All the thing you know better, I need not say. Hence that is why anna raseneva bhutva, having grown there is a, not only it is there, it grows, vruddhim prapya there. Then having come out, it starts consuming food by itself and starts growing. That is what we are all, whether it is 120 or 150, 180, everything is what? Nothing but this food only. And in another way, Upanishad talks varieties of food you take, how they contribute to varieties of things in this body. Certain part is necessary for flesh forming, another one is for blood forming, another one is meant for particularly for all the fat, everything to come. So many things they talk in the Upanishad itself, all those things are there. So food is a contributory factor, and they say a subtle part of the food itself is what which creates even the mind, which is a subtle part of it. Even mind is a product of this food only. And that is the basis for in our Shastra to talk about sattvic food and other things. Why they talk about sattvic food is that the mind to be sattvic, food is a contributory factor. Hence sattva means there are certain properties which are absent, which creates other conditions. The rajasic means it creates disturbance in the mind. Sattva gives you always quietude, peace, calmness, freshness. That is the sattva, alertness. Everything is given by sattva. Rajas gives the mind to be always restless or agitated. And the tamas is the thing which gives the mind to be dull, drooping, never alert. That's why certain types of food you take, you find your mind and buddhi, everything become dull. Certain type of food you take, mind is always restless or agitated, very much boyish, particularly completely buoyant mind. And there are certain type of food, mind is very alert, calm, peaceful. So keeping this, because it is a product of food only, in our Shastra, these restrictions are told about food. For what they are important, medically you have got a particular way of telling which food is good for that and everything. That's why you tell people if there is a particular problem, disease, you say don't take this food, because they will aggravate your disease, because it has got a direct contribution to give. Similarly, from the standpoint of Adhyatma, our Shastra says that's a certain type of food they say avoid. That's why people who are given to the spiritual way of life, they avoid a certain type of food, because they say it is not sattvic. That is the meaning of sattvic. Sattvic means that will be favorable for the spiritual mind to grow. A mind, spiritual mind. A spiritual mind necessarily has to be a calm and peaceful mind, an alert mind, a steady mind, which is very much essential. Hence such type of food and other things are prescribed. Even in Gita 18th chapter, Bhagavan talks what is called sattvic food. He doesn't say the item, brinjal or bindi or anything, he doesn't say. But certain qualities that is there. If you want specific names and all, then you have to go to Yoga Shastra. Patanjali Yoga, there they have specified which type of even vegetables and other things which are sattvic, which are otherwise rajasic or tamasic, all those things are said there. They have gone into details of study in that. So they prescribe all of them. And lately I am told, particularly the Sahaja Yoga people who have come, they are also very much talking about what type of food one should take and what type of food one should avoid. So many things. And they are particularly telling don't take any spices whatsoever. Their instruction is only take bland food, which Westerners and all take like that you take. That's what they say. That is the only thing. And most of the things they say take natural, particularly without even cooking. Salad only is good, they say. These are all the things they are all prescribing. All for the sake of what? They say first thing physical health as well as mental health. Both combined together. Though our Shastra doesn't say take all salads or anything. They only talk to you certain things which you avoid. They got their own way of telling. So in short, what is our topic? So it is Anna Raseneva Bruddhim Prapya. So this is what? All that we have taken, poli, amti, brindi, so all sorts of things we have taken, whatever, our particular Srikand or whatever, everything is this. We call it as body. So in short, we have to say this is nothing but a packet of food. That is known to you. Because this is Anna Vikaram. And that is why, if available, there are people to eat it. Is it or not? Cannibals eat it because this is their food. And there are carnivorous animals, they are willing to eat. Even birds are there who will eat because flesh eaters, this becomes a delicacy if at all available. Up to now, people are not started, otherwise this also will become a delicacy. So that is why tigers are man-eaters. When they taste this blood, it seems they like this only. Though that is what they say. Otherwise, man is the human beings are the weakest thing to be particularly preyed upon. That's why they come easily. We can only drive them away with a gun. Otherwise, they are stronger than us. So we cannot do anything. So that is why the tigers and all you recently read in the paper, man-eaters and other things. So they say why it comes? Because of certain reasons only. Otherwise, generally their prey is only their own species called, other animals are provided. When they don't get that food, they search for whatever food is available. Whatever is easy available, they take that. That is the particularly nature. What is there? To somehow exist in this world, survival is very important. So naturally there is an instinct to go for your food where it is available. So they come, whatever is available, so this is also consumable. Let us take it and go away. So this is what we also do. We have got a normal food pattern. But if that food is not available, we say some other thing, whatever available, let us take something to appease our hunger, to sustain the body, then we switch. As long as we get our normal type of food, we take that. If sometimes that is not available, temporarily let us switch to some other food. Why? Just to sustain, survival. That is what animals also do. That means, in short, when our Shastra say, this is Annam. So this Annam itself, Upanishad says, Annam Brahme Divyajanat Annadeva Kalvimani Bhuta Nijayante Anne Najata Nijivanti Annam Prayantabi Samvisantiti. Upanishad clearly says. So all the thing, particularly, who are you? So Sava Esha Anna Rasa Mayaka, Upanishad says. So this body is nothing but Anna Rasa Mayam. So particularly. So Annena Vardhanti, it says there also. So having born of Annam, it goes particularly. Annam, why you call it? Upanishad says, Adyateti Annam. Why you call it Annam? That which is consumed, eaten, that's why it is called as Annam. First meaning. Second thing it says, again it is called Annam because Atti the Annam. Atti means what? First you eat food, afterwards food eats you. That is what you all know, diabetes. What is diabetes? Food start eating you. That is called diabetes. You ate too much food, after some time food says, now it is my pile, let me start eating you. Slowly starts. That's what our Shastra says. So both the meanings are there for Annam. First you are eating it, it is growth. After some time it starts eating you. Adyate the Annam, Atti the Annam. That's why it is called Annam. General translation, Annam means simply food. So that Annam itself is the product. That product is this body. Hence, Anna Rase Neva Vruddhim Prapya grows. Finally, natural cycle, recycling takes place. Anna Rupa Prithivyam Yat Viliyate. Yat, that which Viliyate, dissolves or dissolves, merges into the Prithivi, Mother Earth, which is the original Annam. Because all food that we have originates from where? From Mother Earth only. Hence it is called Annam. So Anna Rupa Prithivi. Potential Annam is Prithivi. From there all other thing manifested form of food comes there. So hence it is called as Anna Rupa. This is common not only to us, animals' body also that. Even if you say non-veg, this non-veg itself, you see all those animals, they eat what? Every animal which people generally consume, you see what is their food. You find all of them are totally, that's why no carnivorous animals is eaten. A tiger doesn't eat another tiger. Have you seen? They don't. Every one of them is a vegetarian animal which non-vegetarian people eat. That means even the animal which has become food now, it is a product of what? Vegetable only. So we don't want to take direct vegetable, we want to transform it and eat it. That is what is called non-veg. So it is second cooked. That is what non-vegetarian food is. But then though you call non-vegetarian because it is modified, but in part it is nothing but a product of vegetarian. That anywhere you go, all of them are that only. That means basic food is what? That's why our Shastra says basic food is vegetables only. Vegetation is the basic food for human as well as animals. Everybody it is that. But then certain particular things are made in such a way by nature they go carnivorous. But we are not carnivorous. And if at all people are eating non-vegetarian, there is some reason for them, because of the climatic conditions. If you go really analyze, their condition is such that they cannot have vegetation. So to survive, they started finding means. So they found some type of food which is non-vegetarian, they start eating and survive. But when we get so much of vegetables and other things, there is no reason for us to get into non-veg. There is no reason at all. But I am not arguing or anything, I am only just telling. That is how our Shastra says all these things. We must know that. There is no reason for that. Then if somebody has got delicacy, we cannot say anything. Delicacies can be for anything, I tell you. But it is not a necessity. It is not at all a necessity. Delicacy is anything is a delicacy. Okay, that is my delicacy, have it. Who can nobody say anything? But food is after all a necessity to survive. And the vegetation is not available, okay, one goes for non-veg, that is the food available, understandable. But when we have got plenty of vegetations, we need not go for that. That's why in our country, in olden days, more vegetable only. Today so many people are particularly advocating for vegetarian food and other things. But then that is a natural thing, because this is a basic product of vegetation, and naturally vegetable is the basic food for us. That's why digestive systems are also made accordingly. That's what we must know. That's why we cannot eat generally more raw food. That's why we need some cooking. Animals take directly raw food, you need not cook for them. But our system is not to take too much of raw food. Our system will have a lot of problem. That's why we need a cooking. Then again another cooking, that is called digestion, that take place here. So in short here, this body is what? A packet of food. That's why so many food now, packed food you are coming, ready food. You don't call it I, do you? When food is packed in a packet, you don't call it I. But this is also nothing but food. But unfortunately we take to be I. That's a problem. And what is kosher? Because you identify your reality is covered, hence it is called kosher. It is a covering as though a covering. Though Atma cannot be covered, we cover it by our own outlook, our bhavana. And how do you cover? By telling, I am human. First you cover yourself. Human, the status itself belongs to what? This body is in a particular manner, we call it human. Another body in another manner, we call it as animals. Is it or not? So this is also a body, that is also a body. Even a car has got a body. Everything has got a body. Only car body is made of some metal. This body is made of product of food. So this is a product of food only. You know everything. All the thing that is there. And that being the case, to identify and say I am this, indirectly I am saying I am food. To say I am body means I am food. But are you food? I am not. Which food you are? I am not one food, I am not all the food put together. Both I cannot be. But as long as we don't understand, you cannot say. And are you the flesh? Even if you go further and further, if you diagnose this particular, are you the skin? Epidermis are you? Are you the marrow? Are you the blood? Are you the flesh? Are you the bone? What are you? If you say I am this body, what are you? I am none of them. Any part of the body. Are you the heart? Are you the lung? Are you the liver? Are you the kidney? Are you any one of them? I am none of them. And we have seen before why you are not. That's why since you are not, you are prepared to donate them. You are prepared to remove them. If you are any one of them, will you allow it to be removed? And you survive in spite of removing all of them. that clearly shows you are not this body. It is not a simple statement. There is enough reason to prove it to you that how you are not the body. And we have given you before also, argued all of them, we have seen reasons. Hence, as long as we don't think in that manner, naturally we think I am the body. So this is another method of analysis to tell you, by telling what reality is this body. Hence all its conditions are based on the body and the food only. That's why this body predominantly needs what? Food only. That's why survival of the body depends on food. Food becomes a very important thing. But if you are body, that is why you need food. Food is a very important thing. Now that is why we are going to see who eats now. At present who is eating? I am eating. But in reality you don't eat at all. And because I am eating only, we are very fastidious about food. What type of food we should have, what all things you should have, what all the delicacies you should have. That's it. If they are not there, my life is bad. Why I don't get my food? Because I eat. But in reality you don't eat. Because Shastra is going to say hunger, thirst, everything is the dharma of this body. I am hungry, you say, you identify with the body system. I am thirsty, you say, you identify with the system of the body. Because your body, conditions of body belongs to you. But the moment you understand you are not the body, any normal conditions or abnormal conditions, both doesn't belong to you, but of course it belongs to the body. We don't deny that. We don't say it is not there. And again I will tell you, it is all where? Only in a living body, where there is life. A dead body doesn't have hunger, no thirst. It only simply decomposes. You don't say dead body has got a disease. Its nature is to decompose. That is a natural thing. It just decomposes. Its nature is that. But then when there is disease or healthy condition is only when there is this principle of life called you who is present in this body. Because you are present doesn't mean their condition belongs to you. They are all there. They become manifested in your presence. Your presence is absolutely essential for all of them to manifest. But because of that doesn't mean they belong to you. That is the idea here. We must know. Hence first is called Annamaya Kosham. That's what he says now particularly. So Tad Annamaya Kosham. That means what is in this manner, Yati, that itself is Tad is Annamaya Koshaga. Why it is Kosham? Because we identify so many ways. It is all written there. I am male, I am female, I am Brahmin, I am this, I am that. Anything you identify, all of them makes the kosha. It limits that Atma to the level of that. It gives a shape. That's a Nirakaram is Atma, Nirgunam is Atma. When you identify with the body, what happens to Atma? Sakaram, Sagunam. That's why when we give that Atma a form, even Bhagavan form, as Vishnu, Shiva, Rama, Krishna, the Nirakara, Nirguna becomes what? Saguna, Sakara. But because we give all of them, it doesn't become the reality of that. Till you don't know, it becomes absolutely real. But if you understand afterwards, it is only apparent. It doesn't limit. It appears to limit. It doesn't. Given the example before, like even this space, the jaga, it appears to have been limited to a certain area dimension. But in reality, the space is, in spite of being limited, it is free from the limitation, because even before this condition of the wall came, space was there. Even in spite of being conditioned, it is free from this conditioning. You must know that. And for this space only, you are given a name. You call it outpatient ward. That's a name for this place. But the space was there even before, without this name, without this shape. Nothing was there. But later on, as though it has assumed this name and form, and we identify with that and make it that only. It looks a reality. But in spite of appearing absolute realities, it is free from all of them. As you brought this particular place, tomorrow for some reason somebody decides, let us demolish. What will happen to that? The name goes, the form goes, everything goes. What remains still? The space remains. Be free from all of them. So when it was associated, you mean to say it had all these conditions? It is not the reality. If it were real, along with that, space also should go. It doesn't go. Similarly, Atma is also like that. Associated, viewed from the standpoint of this, we give this Atma the status of being the body. And the conditions of the body, everything, we attribute to the Atma. That means how long this gets a reality, till the absolute reality is not known, this condition becomes the absolute reality. If the absolute reality is known, this becomes relatively real. We don't deny. That's why it is called Vyavaharika. There are two types of reality. They will say Paramarthika. Paramartha Satyam, Vyavahara Satyam or Satta, they will call it. The Vyavahara Satta itself is called relatively real, appears to be real. That's why we give the example of the actor and the role. As long as the actor is playing the role, that becomes the reality of the actor. That for that moment, Tatpurti. But after some time, when the particular role is over, that reality goes, the absolute real becomes the reality. That's why the relative reality doesn't really limit anybody. So their presence is no problem, provided one understands. If we don't understand, the limitations becomes absolutely real. That's why body's conditions, if we don't know, that becomes a cause for a problem, sorrow, suffering, worry, so many things. But if you understand that condition doesn't belong to me, you need not worry, but do what is to be done. Just as you treat all patients, is it or not? When the patient comes, they have got maybe some severe disease, very serious diseases, but do you get worried? Why? Because that body you don't say I. Though you are with the body where there is disease, you are treating, sometimes you may say terminal case, that also you may say. Everything may be there. But you don't get particularly worried or anxious because you know that is not your condition, body. But when it comes to this body, I say I am. But I say, like that only, if you know the real, even this body you are not. The parallel is here. That body is not you. So that condition doesn't belong to you. Similarly, this body you are not. Hence its condition doesn't. Because we say don't worry, worry doesn't go away. But that is why if at all worry has to go, you must be fully convinced that the problem is not there. Problem remaining, telling people not to worry is very, very difficult. So how does Vedanta remove the worries? Not by particularly removing the problems or anything, but making it very clear that this problem doesn't rest on the you real. The Atma is absolutely free. That is why when we saw Sthula Shariram, Asti, Jayate, Vardate, Viparnyamate, there only disease is there, there only growth is there, there only decline is there. Jara, Nara, Vyadhi, anything that is all belonging to what? This Sthula Shariram only. Understand itself. That is why I am telling you this is not simple information. You know better than all these things. Our Shastra need not come and tell you all these things. Because you have done more study on particular body, anatomy, everything, you know better. What our Shastra is over, its vision is from a different standpoint. That's all, nothing else. That's it doesn't go in detail like medical science going into detail. Their method of looking at it is totally different. And what is this Annamaya Kosham? That is equated to Sthula Shariram. In short, Annamaya Kosham is another name for Sthula Shariram. Why do you call it? Because viewed from, it's a product of what? It is a product of Annam. Hence it is called Annamaya. And it is a Kosham because you identify, it limits your limitless status. You are free from birth and death. You identify, you get the limitation of birth and death. That is called time bound. And because you are body, again spatial limitation comes to you. You are in a given place, you cannot be everywhere. That's why this room, you limit by telling this space is this much, so it is limited, though it is everywhere. Everywhere the same space is there. But when we put this, it looks this space is different, that space is different, every space is different. So like that the body also has got spatial limitation, and if you identify, you become limited by spatial limitation you have. Then object wise, if you are the body, you are only human, you are not others. In that also you are male only, or if you are female only, you cannot be everything. Again another limitation comes. So thus equating with the body oneself, we get limited. That is called Jiva Bhavam, the limited entityhood. Because of that only people start feeling sometimes I am insignificant, I am small, I am only this much, I am not like that, and that only creates a lot of problem. So what is the idea of this particular Vivekam here? Is to see oneself free from all these conditions. In spite of being there, I am free from all these conditions. If this much we understand, that is what Vedanta's statement called moksha. Everywhere, at once you are free from disease, from hunger, from thirst, from any type of thing, birth or death or anything. Absolutely free. You are not to become, you are. You are free. Even now. That is the Vedanta's vision which is said there. But as long as you don't know, and you, since you identify Tadatmya, equate yourself, then it is called Kosham. Understood? When Ajnanam is there, confusion is there, body is the Kosha. The moment you understand, in spite of that, the Kosha Bhavam automatically goes, because in spite of there, I am free, I am limitless. Since at some time it has got, it is called as Kosha. Kosha. This is what we must understand. Now we go to the next one. Pranamayakaha Pranadyaha Panchavayavaha Vagadindriya Panchakam Pranamaya Kosha. So what is this Pranamayaha? In your thing, vital air, it is said there. So that is one type of telling. Prana. Generally, prana, the word is used only for this respiration. People generally understand pran chale gaya. Prana is called this breathing, and when that goes, the entire function here stops. That is called vital. Vital means what? Because of that everything goes. That's why they call it as vital. Very important. And what it is? Prana in our Shastra is called air. Pranat Vayurajayata. Purusha Suktam says, what we call prana is nothing but the Vayu. The Samashti Vayu, limitedly called as prana. And this prana has got varieties. In that only you know there is oxygen and the carbon dioxide for us. Then there is nitrogen, hydrogen, varieties of modifications are there. They are all what? Nothing but the pranamayam. They are all varieties of pranas. All gases you will say. But they are nothing but prana. That's the gas itself is called Vayu. Ayurveda calls gas trouble is what? Vayu problem. So Vayu is there in this body, and that department of prana is what is called Pranamaya. And what is this prana? In your book it is said there, it is called physiological functions. This is a study again done in Yoga Shastra. The Yoga Shastra talks about this pranas, various types of thing that is there. And there are 5, that is called Maya. You all know now, if I say Pranaya Swaha, Apanaya Swaha, Vyanaya Swaha, Udanaya Swaha, Samanaya Swaha. In this manner, 5-folded modification. That is what is called Pancha Pranaha Pranadhyaha. Beginning from prana. That's why first you say Pranaya Swaha. Why we say Swaha? Because it is a particularly Vedic culture. In our Upanishad it says particularly He Prana Tomeva Pratyaksham Brahmasi. Hence prana is considered as a deva. That's why Vayu is a devata or deva. Varuna is a deva, devata. So hence, considering that Vayu as Bhagavan, and again in the Gita if you say, Bhagavan says, who is that? I am only particularly. Pranapana samayuktaha pachamyannam chaturvidham, Bhagavan says. So who is prana? In reality, absolutely it is nothing but myself. And what is that? Because of prana only, Bhagavan says, there is the digestive fire. The system of digestion is because of one aspect of prana, which Bhagavan talks, aham vaishwanaro bhutva praninam dehamachritaha. And that Vaishwanara Agni itself, prana apana samayuktaha. Understand it, sir? Hence, the vision being that prana is Bhagavan, we call it as Swaha. That's why Ramdas Swami said particularly what? Udara Purana Nohe Janite Yajna Karma. That is why we call it, when you offer in the fire a havan you do, whatever you say, Indraya Swaha, Somaya Swaha, Vayave Swaha, there you are offering, any offering is called in our Shastra, Swaha. We use the word. So that is why it is not eating, It is an offering. That is why he says yajna karma. Hence, according to our Shastra, before we start taking the full food, initially it is a ahuti. Ahuti means offering. It is a first puja. The attitude of it is an yajna. It is not eating. Eating is called yajna according to our Shastra. You may eat any amount, but it is only yajna bhava. It is an yajna. It is a worship. Even the mundane thing called eating, according to the Shastra, is a worship. Even at that time, you are not supposed to forget Bhagavan. Everything is Bhagavan only. There is no eater and eaten. According to our Shastra, Annam is also Brahma. The eater is also Brahma. So who is eating whom? Brahman is eating Brahman. So where do you come in the picture? If you are Brahman, you can say, whom are you eating? I am eating myself. But as long as we don't know, you will say, I am eating food. This is called Advaita. What is Advaita? To particularly make everything to be nothing but one. That's a Brahman. Food is also Brahman. The eater is also Brahman. Everything is Brahman. So what remains? Only Nama Rupam differs. Like even chain or bangle or anything necklace, only name and forms are different. They are all what? Nothing but gold. This is what in our Shastra called Advaita. Advaita means not things changing. Even when they are there, to understand the reality is one. That is what is very much essential. Not everything goes. Everything goes, it is called Shunyam. It is not Advaitam. Advaitam is not there is absence of things. Advaitam is to understand the underlying total homogeneous principle, which is the truth which we call Narayanmayam Jagat, Ishwaramayam Jagat, Brahmamayam Jagat, which is called that itself. And that aspect itself is being talked here from a different standpoint or angle. Hence here Pranamaya. So each prana we will take one by one. You will see how the physiological functions. We simply see only respiratory. In this respiration itself, there are two. You all know, one is inhalation, another one is exhalation. There is a misunderstanding. People think prana is called inhalation. No, please. Prana in Sanskrit is a praggamanavan vayuhu pranaha. It is defined. Prak means outside. Gamanavan, which goes out. Means what in short? What you exhale. And otherwise, if you go more carbon dioxide, you leave out. That is what is called as prana. So one particular function of exhalation is called as prana. Then what is apana? Adho gamanavan vayuhu apanaha. That which is taken inside, inhalation. That system, the whole system is called apana. And in that apana itself is anything going down up to even excretion you do, everything is at the level of apana. Even the food swallowing, that system, whatever you call in your technical form, that is also because of apana. The food going inside, water going inside, all those things are because of apana. Then after digestion, the sanitation department there which throws out, that is also in the hand of apana. That's why when you leave particularly air through your anus, they call apana vayu. Generally in Sanskrit they will call it as apana vayu. So it goes this way and gets out that way, everything. Whether you pass urine, whether you excrete, both of them are called in the system of apana. It all depends on apana. Totally. So that is called, now understand what system it is working, how. particularly. That's why these two are very important. Pranam, apanam itself, that's why Bhagavan says pranapana. Out Bhagavan says there. Because they are very important thing. Because they are the very important thing because of all other functions are there. That's why breathing, you say, is very important, then only all other functions. When breathing is hampered, all other thing becomes very, very difficult. Now you have got prana, apana, we have said. Now we will see, next we will go to particularly Vyana. What is Vyana? Vishwat Gamanavan Vayuhu Vyanaha. Vishwat means circulatory department. All blood circulation, food circulation, whatever after digestion, everything. That is department is called Vyana. Vishwat means all over the body. That which constantly travels. That system of circulation. So in the newspaper you have got circulation department. You print and circulate everywhere. Like that you throw food here, the digestion after that you have to hand over to circulation department to take respective thing wherever required. That department is given to Vyana. Vishwat Gamanavan Vayuhu Vyana. Then you got Samanaha. Samikarana Karaha Samanaha. Who digests everything samam. You put different varieties, is it or not? What all things we throw inside. But from there, who digests everything, separates it into protein separate, fat separate, carbohydrate separate, that separate, this separates, everything and hands it over to circulation department. Take it. That department is called Samana. So Sami Karana Karaha. That's why Bhagavan uses three. Prana, Apana, Samayuktaha. Sama there means Samanam. Who digests the whole thing, food. That digestive department is called Samana. That department there. That itself is Jatara Agni or Vaishwanara Agni. That's Samana. Then finally Udana. What is this Udana? Udgirana Karaha Udana. Udana is that because of which any sort of throwing out comes. Ejection. Udana Vayu is the thing which is only available only in two occasions. Whenever there is vomiting comes, that is because of Udana Vayu. That is why Udana Vayu is always not functioning. If it functions, there is a lot of problem. Udana Vayu always remains in the Nabhi portion, navel portion. It remains dormant there. It activates two places. Whenever there is vomiting, Udana Vayu is very much in trouble, particular activity. That is why even while death also, the life to be ejected out, there also Udana Vayu becomes very active. That is the one who takes the life out. That's why you find sometimes people are struggling to get the life to get out. At that time Udana is starting problem there. Some people shut, it goes away. Like a car just starts, but other cars keep on like that here also. When it wants to get out, particularly there is lot of breathing goes on, because that Udana Vayu is still not strong. And this Udana Vayu only starts collecting the whole thing, withdrawing. That's why you all know better when the death is coming, how you find portion by portion become Tanda. Leg becomes Tanda. Why? Udana is withdrawing. And Udana when activities, that is why all functions, reflexes fail completely. It collects the whole thing and totally taking, just throws it out. And that section is what is said here as Udana Vayu. Thus this prana totally is called energy department. And that is why prana and food has got direct relationship. That's why in Upanishad it is said how prana and food has got directly. One student started asking. So in order to practically teach the student, the teacher said, starve this fellow for 15 days. No food. And that fellow was starved. And he was a student who used to recite the Sama Veda, like Gana Manne. And he said, after 15 days, bolo, Gana bolo. Sound doesn't come. Because when people starve for 15 days, even speaking, they go, sound doesn't come. Why? Because there is no food, no energy. So now that fellow was told, now do you understand how prana and food has got direct relationship? That is why even many of the physiological problems you all relate to food, understand. Even breathing problems have got food relationship. Many of the things have got food relationship. How food contributes to a lot of things. That is the type of food, what contributes, everything you can study from there. That's why so many things are said. Hence the food being the energy and the prana being the one who convert. That's why in physics what is there? The solid material is converted into liquid energy or subtle energy. This is simple physics here. You throw solid matter here like food and so many things, they are all converted into energy. By whom? This great machine called, particularly this body, where under the digestive system only you all know liver and so many things, they are all connected. They are all connected. Liver, pancreas, so many things. They are all connected to this prana department. They are all associated to prana. In our Shastra they don't say so many. You all have different method of looking. But from that we can say, because when the liver has to function and because of only digestion and take place, they are all directed where? They are all particularly go in the samana. They are all going into samana only, everything. Even pancreas, everything should go under samana only. Because of it only there is constantly good health, good digestion, everything going on. When they are affected, the digestive system is affected, prana is affected. It creates a lot of problem itself. Hence this prana department, prana mayaha means what? This five-folded modifications of prana. Now what are you? Are you breathing? Are you the breath? I am breathing. So are you oxygen or carbon dioxide? Both I am not. What are we? If you are oxygen, then you must be in the cylinder. You are not. Nor even carbon dioxide. In all fire extinguishers there is carbon dioxide. I am not. Or nitrogen or hydrogen, what am I? I am none of them. These are all functions. But if I identify with any one of them, it is not. That's why when you say I am hungry means you are samana vayu, you are prana. When I am thirsty, I am samana vayu. I have constipation, you are apana vayu. I have got circulation problem, again dhyana vayu you are. Or I am vomiting, you become udhana vayu. So you are any one of them, you are none of them. They are all the system. They are all system. When you identify with any one of them, it becomes a covering, covers, limits you. Hence it is called as kosher. When you say I am hungry, you are limited by that hunger, that samana, their digestive system. I am thirsty, you are limited. But who are you? Our Shastra says you are free from hunger and thirst. Hunger and thirst is the system, body, it belongs to the body. Sorry, it is late. We'll stop it. How much? 7:45 only, no? Okay, so this system is here as prana. So prana department is what? Energy department. In this body, energy is given by whom? Prana. Prana is the energy, the life. That's why vital. Vital air means the energy. As anything related to prana creates a lot of problem. That's a basic thing required. See, food is the basic thing. If it no digestion, it will create a lot of problem. And that is dependent on the level of prana only. That is why they call in the particular yoga, pranayama has got a particularly all-round effect. When you can have this particular pranayama, it regulates everything, which they call as nadi shuddhi. By pranayama, what happens? Nadi shuddhi takes place. Nadi shuddhi means various particular function areas are there. They are all cleansed, means they all become perfect. That is why pranayama is to keep good health. It has got nothing else to do. It is basically for keeping good health in the respiratory system and all related thing. It creates a great effect on that. So that is why it is more important. You can do pranayama. Varieties of pranayamas are there. Simple pranayamas are there. There are intricate pranayamas are there. So pranayama means regulating prana. Why? In our Shastra, our life is so many breaths you take is called life. Everyone is given so many breaths. That is called your ayu. So if at all you want to conserve your life, what you have to do? Breathe less. How can you breathe less? That's why in pranayama. In pranayama, they regulate the breathing. The number of times you breathe becomes less. That's why they used to say yogis live longer. Why? Because they conserved their energy. The breathing is conserved. So as though your life becomes longer and longer. These are all the principles that is there. So that is why prana and life has got a connection. But you are not prana, another thing. The Upanishad clearly says. We generally think we are living because of this breathing. Upanishad says this prana apana. Na pranena, na apanena, martyo jivati kaschana. Upanishad clearly says, no human being, mortals, are living because of prana or apana. This exhalation, inhalation, that is not the thing which keeps this person living. Then what is that? Itarena tu jivanti yasmin etau upasritau. Itarena. For another reason it lives, in whom they too have dependence. Itarena tu jivanti yasmin etau upasritau. And who is that? Urdhvam pranamunnayati apanam pradyakasyati madhye vamanamasinam vishve deva upasate. Atma is being told. One who is because of presence, urdhvam pranamunnayati. This particularly exhalation is happening. Apanam pratyakasyati. The prana, apana goes inside. Then all other thing goes. And who is that? Vadye Vamanam Asinam. Vamanam means who is respectable, who is adored, who is worshipful. And whom all devas means all the functions here, upasade, as though they are all worshipping that deva. And who is that deva? That is the reality of you called Atma. Hence Atma doesn't depend on prana. Prana depends on Atma. That is why why this particular breathing stops, you have seen earlier, the prana is one of the constituent part of Sukshma Sharira. That's why when the body, there's a death take place, who lives? We have seen Sukshma Sharira lives. So when Sukshma Sharira goes, the constituent part there is called prana goes. In the Sukshma Sharira itself we saw the Atma is also manifested. That is why here the system, breathing system stops because the current is not there. And what is the current which makes breathing going? Is called Atma. That means who is the absolute life? That's a prana is only a relative life. The absolute life, the principle of life is you, the Atma, for this body. That means as long as you are body, you are living. And as long as you are living, you are liable to death. But if you understand your Atma, you are not living, body is living. You give life to the body. You are the absolute life. Not only the body, the whole. Bhagavan says, Jiva Bhuta Mahabaho Yaya Idam Dharyate Jagat. I am the life in the whole creation because of the whole creation is sustained. And that life is called Atma. But if you identify with the body, you become mortal, you depend on some life. That's why life departs, we say. It is not the life departing, the Sukshma Shariram goes, the body becomes totally not there. That's why if oxygen maintains everybody, because what is necessary for the body to live? Oxygen is very important. Oxygen starved means there is a lot of problem. That's why you all will put administer oxygen. Cylinder laya. Okay. That's why you all know better. When death take place, if oxygen makes anything to live, why not add 2 more cylinders? If oxygen is the only factor which maintains this system, these are all where we must understand. It is not simply talk. If oxygen is the basic factor here, and simply oxygen can keep this body going, then instead of putting 1 cylinder or at least open it fully, you may be regulating, fully open it. Why not have more oxygen? Suddenly the fellow should wake up. That doesn't happen. That's why as long as Atma is there, oxygen can do what is required here. If Atma is absent, oxygen cannot do anything. Understand this, sir? So that is the extra details where Shastra goes. Your details are up to a level. What is the extra in our Shastra is these are certain things which it talks. That is why what is the life of oxygen itself? Is Bhagavan, that Atma Swarupam, which is your reality view. That is why everything depends on Bhagavan. Bhagavan doesn't depend on anything. Absolutely. And that is why the Bhagavan's absolute Purusha, the total Bhagavan, cosmic Purusha, his breathing is called our Vayu. And Bhagavan is breathing all the time. That is why Vayu is blowing. People ask a question, is Bhagavan there? How do you say you are living? Because you are breathing, is it or not? Pulse you take. And one is breathing means the person is living. So when so much of wind is blowing, what is happening? Bhagavan is still breathing. That is what our Shastra says. The Purusha Suktam says, no, that's what. Pranad Vayu Rajayata. Bhagavan's prana is the Vayu that we are all seeing here. So we need not see Bhagavan. And another way, what is the eyes of Bhagavan? Our Shastra says, sun is one eye, moon is another eye. So when I look at somebody's face, what do I see all the time? Eyes meet. That's why whenever sun is there, you look, whose eye you are seeing? You are seeing the eye of Bhagavan. In the night when moon is shining, which eye do you see? Bhagavan's. Bhagavan's 2 eyes are so vast, you cannot see both of them simultaneously. By the time you see one eye, the other eye is not available. Because it's so vast. And our particular thing, eyes are so small, it cannot go everywhere. That's why it takes time for the next eye to come, and this eye. That's why Bhagavan is both in the night as well as daytime available. His eyes are always looking. Bhagavan is always seeing, which we must know. That same Bhagavan only we give a small form as a Bhagavan in the idol. Who is vast, we reduce him to a form. That is the beauty of our Shastra. Our Shastra can expand, our Shastra can contract. It is so flexible, I tell you. It is not rigid. As long as we cannot expand, it allows you to have this particular, the limited vision of Bhagavan. But if you can, that's why what is in the schools you write, first of all you write essay. Their essay is the big thing. After essay they say proceed. That becomes difficult. But in the case of Bhagavan, that's why in photography also, you can enlarge, you can contract. First you contract, then you enlarge. Like that Bhagavan can expand, that's a Vishwarupam. Bhagavan can contract and come into one Krishna form. That's what Bhagavan shows. I am the whole thing, but I am Krishna also. I am Rama also. I am Shiva also. I am Ganesha also. Everything is me only. This is the flexibility of Bhagavan. So flexible. Our Shastra is so flexible. It is not rigid. And by that only we understand Bhagavan is everything, including this prana. That's why it is called prana upasana. You can see this prana as Bhagavan and invoke prana itself is Bhagavan. And that is called prana upasana. We can do that. So this system where energy is there, it is called pranamaya kosha. Since it is energy, all particularly motor equipments and their function requires what in this world? Energy. They are all connected to prana. That's why karmendriyani. Pancha pranadeha karmendriyani. Vagadi indriya panchagam militva. Vagadi means what? Beginning from speech. We have seen Vak, Pani, Pada, Payu, Upastha. Iti Pancha. Vak, Pani, Pada, Payu, Upastha. They all come under the group of organs of action. So if you want to act, what is required? You require energy. Hence to pranamaya kosha, they have connected karma indriya. So all put together is called pranamaya kosha. So pranamaya kosham includes karmendriya plus the 5 pranas, which are the thing which are associated with all these functions. Rest we will see in the next class, because if we proceed it will take time. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet